Hey everybody, welcome back to the Purpose Department podcast. So glad you guys are back with us today. We have an awesome guest on today, but first of all, Dad, how are you doing?
I am good, buddy. Doing so good. Glad to see you. Glad we're back in here, going on again. Your mom and I, we just got back from vacation and had some nice time away from you guys. We love you very, very much, but it was very good to be gone.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Celebrating our 20 years.
Dang.
So, and in good old Cabo, first time there ever.
Fun.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that trip for sure sometime. But
definitely sometime.
Yeah.
But I want to introduce the guest that we have today.
Let's
this guy
do it.
actually came and spoke at my school. And he is from the great California Pizza Kitchen. He is a HR rep, HR manager. So I'd like to introduce Bryan Baker.
What's going on, Bryan?
Yeah, not much. Thanks for having me. I told you before, it's an honor. I'm like so stoked to be chosen. So yeah, I love to talk, so watch out.
Dude, that's great.
Awesome.
When you said chosen, all I could think of is your brother. He had the little aliens from Toy Story.
Oh, yeah.
You've chosen me.
Yeah.
The claw. Sorry,
Cool.
dating myself,
Yeah.
but yeah. No, man, honestly, so great to have you here. And I love how your guys' corporate office is literally right down the pathway from our space here, which it often gets confused as a restaurant, which I was mistaken once going there thinking I can get food and was turned away.
Yeah, all the time. People walk in all the time. We're like, we're so sorry. We just do all the work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys should just kind of add a restaurant.
I know. We actually have right now like a vending machine upstairs. It's for pizzas. They're in some airports right now.
Okay.
And
I've seen those.
Yeah, they're really cool. And they like spit out amazing pizzas. And they're gonna do pasta, I hope, and a few other things. It's gonna be amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
It's
blowing
like
my
one of those
mind.
Tokyo vending machines.
Literally, I know. We're like hitting a whole new era. I was like, and you can smell it when it's cooking in there. And we're just like, okay, maybe we sell those to people that walk by.
Oh my gosh. I will volunteer. I will be your quality control if you let me up there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man, that's funny.
No, that's so cool.
Yeah. So as everybody knows, and if you don't know, shame on you. I'm joking. No,
but really, shame on you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I have a hypothetical question.
Okay.
Right. So as we dive a little bit more into your story, you've worked in the restaurant business your entire life, and then having like HR and all that stuff. I have a deep question for you today. So you're working in the back of like the restaurant, and you end up getting an order and you end up burning the bottom of the pizza.
Right.
Like you lose track of time, you burn the bottom of the pizza. You know that if you tell the manager or whatever, he's gonna get pretty pissed off at you. What do you do? Do you just ship the pizza out and act like you didn't know?
Right.
Or do you tell him and risk being yelled at?
Well, you must have a camera in one of our restaurants because that has happened before, probably several times.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I personally would definitely tell on myself. I have no problem doing that, and I would expect one of our team members to do the same. And I think that they 99% would tell on themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We don't like any bad burnt pizzas going out. So even on the top of the crust around, it can't. Yeah.
So what do you guys do with those burned pizzas? Do you just like toss them out, or do you keep them
Jaden, do you
off to
need
the
some
side?
burnt pizza?
I kind of do. I'm a bit hungry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, bad product goes in the trash, including pizza, brown lettuce, whatever it may be. Yeah, it's
heck
definitely. I know it's got to go in the trash. We don't serve it, but that's a real life question. I mean, that happens all the time.
I mean, like I go to Domino's and the bottom of the pizza's burned. I still get it, and they're like, "Here, I'll charge you $14 for it."
Right. No, we had no discounts. We would just throw it in the trash and start over. Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. Yeah. Okay. So that's also like a big honesty thing. It's just you can't be scared to get reprimanded for a mistake that you made. That's
right.
Yeah. That's cool. So working in the restaurant business, how has it kind of shaped you as a person, just in general?
Yeah, like you said, I've been working in the restaurant business my whole life. Gosh, I'm going on I started when I was 18. So it's been, 27, 28 years of restaurant life. And I just fell into it, I say. I was going to college. I became a host at a restaurant, actually one that's across the street. And it was a very busy restaurant for a long time in Orange County, one of the most popular. And I kind of got my footing there and just really loved it. I loved the fast pace of it. I loved the people aspect of it. It was a grind and it was tough. But for me, I was like, you know, this is something I can see myself doing long term. And I don't think it was, I was about 30 waiting on tables when I kind of had this, you know, awakening, if you will, to like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what is my purpose? Where is my career going? I don't even really at that point have a career. And what am I doing in life? And so I think I took the ownership over the restaurant business to shape where I wanted to be. Yeah. And I think I took it to a different level, but it took me a long time. Okay. With a lot of reservations. But I think, you know, I think I'm hitting my stride, as they say. Yeah. Yeah. At a older age.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, that's, I mean, I guess, can you tell us a little bit of the process? Because I think for so many of us, I mean, I was in a field and stuff for about 20 years, and then stepping out now and a couple years in as a full-time entrepreneur, you know, with our creative agency, doing different things like that. Yeah. But I remember, you know, even just that transition for me, you know, personally, mentally, like all the different things. But then you were talking about how you were in this, you're just kind of working in it, just kind of going through the flow, and then all of a sudden realizing like, hey, there's got to be something more. Like, what flipped the switch for you, or what kind of agitated kind of the the bottom of your life a little bit to where it was like, hey, I know something can be different. I can do different, whatever. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I think I was 30 years old and knew that I had so much more potential than, you know, and waiting on tables is a great job. I don't knock anybody. So we've got tons of people that wait on tables. But for me at 30, I kind of saw my friends in different positions in life and going places. And, you know, it wasn't about like keeping up with the Joneses for me and trying to be, you know, I never wanted to, you know, be some top lawyer or whatever it may be. But for me, I'm like, hey, I'm 30. I need to find something. I need to roll with this. I'm really good at this. I'm good with the public. Yeah. I know the restaurant business. And so then that's when I got into management. And I walked into a CPK and I interviewed on the spot. I got the job 2 days later. And I was one of the first people to be hired outside the company as what they called at the time a shift lead. Okay. They normally promoted them from within. Right. So I think I was the very first one in the company. And so I was a key holder. I was a management type of person, but not an official manager. So I finally worked my way up in management in there, and then knew I could even do more than that. Right. Mm-hmm. So I saw a company that really was people-centric. Yeah. And gave back to people, had a great culture. I was very connected to that part of the company. And I wanted to know if the entire company was like that, because I had only had a basic, you know, my sample size, if you will, was a couple restaurants. I had worked in a couple CPKs. I'm like, if this is how they all are, is this how the whole company is? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I waited 3-4 years and looked at the job boards probably every month, and was like, I could do something more for this company at a corporate level. And this job position came up called and I think it was the first time it's ever come up, called a people and culture manager. Yeah. And it just, that title alone just spoke to me. And I was like, wait a second, like that is so my jam. I could be a people and culture manager. Heck yeah. And I went up and interviewed. I had like 6 separate interviews over 2 days. One was a panel interview that freaked me out. But everyone was so cool and so nice. And I just felt their vibe about culture and was like, I know I can do this. Mm-hmm. And I ended up getting that job. And yeah, I mean, it has been the job of a lifetime, to be completely honest. Yeah.
So now you handle culture and you handle all that stuff. What is it? I'm going to dive into like the main part of what I was really wanting to get into today is, what does it look like to build a healthy culture? And is it difficult, or is it easy to build a super healthy culture?
Yeah, great question. It's definitely not easy. You know, for me, I was hired to run a nonprofit that we have. We have a nonprofit called the Kindness Fund, and it's a give back to our employees in times of crisis. Okay. And so I was offered to manage that, and I took that from a level, you know, in 2014 where we were dispersing 50, 60, 70,000, all the way up to hundreds of thousands of dollars in a couple of years while building money in the bank, you know, by marketing it, by talking about it, and then just giving away as much money as possible to our team members. Yeah. That piece was a huge culture piece, right? So very tough to build that, but very easy to make phone calls and, you know, help people out in times of need. People that were, you know, we had natural disasters or, you know, shootings. We had the Las Vegas shooting and we had an employee involved in, unfortunately, able to do things around that. But yeah, I think the culture as a whole is not easy to build, but I think I came into CPK already in a people-centric culture and just helped to take that to a new level. Yeah. But it had the foundation. I mean, they had started years ago, 1985, very people-focused. And when I came on, it continues to be that way. And I think, you know, we talked about when I went to your school, the hiring practices and things like that. And, you know, a diverse company makes us all unified. So I think it just was, it continues to be difficult. But you have to have people buy into culture, you know, and it's like, you know, you're not selling culture. It should be authentic. Yeah. But I don't think I think people are at work for different reasons. You know, and I don't think everybody's there for culture. I think some people are there for the big paycheck they get, right? And some people are there because they're passionate about what they do. So I think everybody's different. Yeah. And you got to roll with all those different type of people. And that can often be tough.
Yeah. 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 And then you also run into the fact, right? I mean, as I'm listening to you speak, thinking about culture, there's the empowerment that has to go into it. There's also the belief in seeing the potential of more for individuals, right? So how do you foster that then within, because you're working at a corporate level. So how does that trickle down?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is about, you know, people like to be recognized and appreciated. I think it's just a human trait that a lot of us have. Not everybody likes a spotlight shown on them, but I think a lot of people, you know, really want to be appreciated. So we have a whole culture program that we built. We kind of didn't have it during COVID when we were, you know, in this phase of just trying to, like everybody else, just trying to figure it out.
Right.
But we brought it back after COVID, and it's like an anniversary recognition for years that we ship out things to the restaurants, yearbooks that people sign. We've got, you know, we give them this really cool acrylic with their years. It's a lot of things that I think other companies are doing. I just think we do it really well.
Yeah.
And appreciating our people and understanding it. But I think it's also my experience at the corporate level and what I experienced at the restaurant level. A lot of culture in people and tie-in is empowering people, right? Like letting them you're leading them, but you're letting them also lead themselves, right? You're giving them the tools, but you're not doing everything for them. And you're also empowering to be the best team member that they can be, right? If they choose to be that. Mm-hmm. Not everybody is engaged in culture, like we talked about. Like not everybody, you know, people are there for different reasons. But I think for me, the culture around the whole company just, like you can feel it. It's a vibe. And I think when you walk into our CPK2, you can feel it. Mm-hmm. I certainly did. When I walked in the corporate office, I was like, is this like it's not a fluke. Like this is a whole thing. Yeah. So I think, culture can be tough, but I think you got to engage people and you got to appreciate them.
Yeah. So then, everybody's different, right? So you have to engage people different ways. How difficult is that to kind of like learn how everybody functions and then engage them in the way that will reach them the best?
Yeah, I think people have different interests in different things, right? So you've got to just keep the appreciation going and the recognition going. And then also have, you know, for us too, it's like, you know, do you have the best benefits? Are you attracting people? Are you the employer of choice? So things like that, I think. I try to make our home office, as much as I can do in my role, welcoming, inclusive, and a place where everybody can come and not only work, but have fun, right? So we like to work hard, play hard. We've got tons of events that we do and fun things that we do. And I think, you know, for us, you're not always going to capture everybody, Jaden. That's the thing that you have to, if you walk in understanding that you're not always going to win everybody over, and not everybody's going to think you're the best company they've ever worked for, but you can capture the ones that want to be engaged. Yeah. So I think that's what I focus on. The people that want to be there, the people that are passionate about their work. I think that's what I focus on.
Yeah.
Because I'm that person, you know, but I guess what? I'm not everybody that works there. Luckily, if there was this many Bryan Bakers, we'd have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that because it's definitely a two-way street, you know, any type of, from a organization, business, different things as a manager, employee, whatever you may call it, whatever role you might be in or serve as or work in, there's an investment.
Yeah.
And you can invest in your employees and in the people on your team and in your staff, but if they're not reciprocating that or in some ways giving back in their own way to make things better, then it's very hard to have a long-lasting, healthy relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because one just siphons out of the other, and then when it's depleted or they feel like they're done, then they're out.
Yeah, and I think people look at me too as the culture person sometimes at CPK. I mean, it was in my title for a very long time, and I think people were like, "Oh, he's the, you know, he bleeds yellow," we call it. Like he's just all about CPK, you know. But I have my own struggles. You know, I struggle with imposter syndrome. And it's better today than it was before due to a few reasons and things I've worked on. But I think when people have a high expectation of you that you've got to come in and be that culture and that smile and that, you know, that cheerful every day. I'm like that probably 99% of the time, but we all have our
But when it hits you, it hits.
Yeah. And I'm very real. Everything is, you know, really on my sleeve and I just am who I am and I'm never going to hide it. But there are definitely days that I, you know, don't feel like Mr. Culture. But I don't have that choice. Sometimes I've got to put that, hat on, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does it look like to kind of like, because you have to deal with everybody, right?
Yeah.
So, and like, you're not going to capture everybody, like you said, but what does it look like to kind of just maintain patience and maintain like you're cool? I mean, I know that sometimes people will break, but what does it look like to just maintain a cool whenever you're dealing with people that may be difficult or whenever you're dealing with people that may not be the easiest to work with?
Yeah, I think you have to understand what they're going through. I deal with a lot of people with employee relationship issues in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I think you have to put yourself back to where you were before in the restaurant, understand the stress of it, understand how many people, if you're dealing with a manager, how many people they manage on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And it's cross-generational, right? So you might have a more seasoned, we would call it manager, right? Working with some very green new people to the workforce. And there's that whole generation gap where they're like, well, I texted you. It's like, well, that texting doesn't really count. Like, pick up the phone, you know? So we're kind of dealing with those issues. And I think that I have to put myself in every generation's kind of position, understand what their priorities are, you know? When I did a lot of hiring at CPK, gosh, probably, you know, when Gen Z came into the workforce, and even why, I think it was a lot of like, you know, I got questions that I had never gotten before about time off of work and vacation. I mean, these were some of the very first questions I got. And I was like, whoa, I'm not used to getting those questions. But guess what? Their priority a lot of times is quality of life. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with asking me about quality of life. I was just so blown away by it because I was used to different generations coming in and they would just talk about what's the workload like and what can we do for you? And here's my skills. And it's like, then you have this whole generation focused on something totally different. Yeah. And they want to know how much vacation they get a year in their first or second question to you. So it might come off as unprofessional, but if you put on your hat of this is a totally different generation, you understand that, then you like that you get where they're coming from.
Yeah, it's just a different lens that they're looking through.
100%.
One, they want to work for the company, but it's first off, they're like, well, if I'm not going to be in the right state of mind or in the right, you know, health position or whatever, then I don't want to come and work for you or be a part of this with you because I'm not going to be better for it.
Right.
You know, so that it's more about that self-preservation type thing and kind of helping, you know, everybody's coming in with their own dreams and ambitions of what's it going to do for me first? Not really. Whereas an older guard would have been like, well, here's what I bring. This is how I can serve the company. This is how I can make it better or da, 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 da. Now it's kind of flipped a little bit. So what has, because I would imagine as a director of culture and with people and what you're working with, what kind of updates or systems have you had to put in place because of all of the new different things that have come up?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I think we've really focused a lot. When I first started in the workforce, there was no mental health days. It wasn't even talked about, right? And so the world is changing. It's always evolving, and mental health has come to the forefront. So I think we've done a lot of things around mental health and kind of understanding that and what people are going through. And I also think, substance abuse and things like that. I think we take a different approach to that sometimes about how we deal with employees going through struggles and how we are empathetic, but also protecting our brand. So I think it's our different approach, so I think the world is always going to evolve, and HR always has to evolve with it. Yeah. And people are just, it's always going to be something different. And so I think if you are moving with the flow of the world and understanding that, I think that you're going to be on the right side. And by right side, I mean helping people the correct way.
Yeah. That's really cool. So then having like Gen Z come into the workforce, this might go into interviews, and you don't have to talk about it if you can't. Have you ever had anyone like use slang whenever they're doing an interview, like Gen Z slang?
Yeah, I have. And I know a bit of Gen Z slang. I haven't had too much lately, but yeah, definitely the way that they navigate an interview, the way they talk, sometimes even the way they dress. It's just a more casual vibe. Yeah. And for me, it's okay. I'm okay with that. I always say, be your authentic self. I don't want someone coming in the door that's not trying to be. Listen, an interview is like a first date to me, right? You put on your best self, right? You show up and you're your best self. The best self for the newest generation is a much more casual vibe, unless you're going for some crazy accounting position, which you're probably not going to go for because you don't have that experience yet. You're coming in for something that's a little bit more calm. By calm, I just mean like entry level. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, I just come in and be casual and be yourself. I mean, don't start cussing, but I think as long as you're using some slang, it's all good for me. If that's just who you are and your generation. But I love the generation that comes in and ask those questions. I was put off by it at first because I wasn't used to it. But the more that I got used to it, I'm like, I think that they're doing the right thing, right? They're just being themselves, and they're asking the right questions. Yeah. Trust me, when I walked in, I wanted to know how much vacation I was getting too, but I don't even know if I asked that ever, because it's just not something you did in my day. But now they do it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That must have been like so funny the first interview where someone started using slang. You're like, I don't understand what you're saying.
Literally at first I was like, okay, I gotta like figure out some of these words. Mostly they're, nothing too crazy. But yeah, everybody's pretty professional. But yeah, it's just a different they just operate very differently. Yeah. But I like it.
How do you navigate with your people who are in management over other restaurants and different things in other locations? Because you're having to communicate these things and then help them see through a different lens and a different perspective for those who are coming in. Like, hey, this is going to be part of our workforce. This is going to be part of the people who are going to be part of the future's, California Pizza Kitchen team. We've got to tune our ears a little differently to start hearing different and seeing them different. Yeah. How do you navigate that with your managers who are like, because some people don't have patience for that.
Right. We've definitely had calls related around, I wouldn't say they're like generational calls, but they're definitely like, hey, this is where the workforce is moving. We always have policies on the way to treat people. We have a huge foundational philosophy about respect and kindness and opportunity and all these things that we talk about. But I think for us, we definitely have had to communicate and work with managers that are kind of, like you said, the older guard with this new generation that's coming through. It's like, and they just are like, their minds are blown by the way they operate, and it's like, you've got to hold them with certain rules too. Like, hey, you must be on time. If you're going to be late, you must call, things like this. And sometimes they're like just out to lunch, and it's like, no, this is a real job. Like, we're still showing up to work. So I think for them, I think they get used to it. But I mean, that's just part of the job. The management of people, is people don't understand what a big part of a restaurant running that is. They think you're just, dealing with guests all day and food. The people aspect is like, I think like more than 80% of it. Part, isn't it? Yeah. If you're not running a restaurant based in culture and people centric, and you're not doing the right thing by your people, I think you're already losing the battle. Yeah. You could have great guest satisfaction, but I think if you don't have a great culture, how do you get that satisfaction? Because those people are waiting on the public.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
No.
Is that why you see like some restaurants fail because they don't have a culture, just a culture-based foundation?
Yeah. I think, for me, I know brands that I can think of like 3 in my head right now that I know that I'm always going to go and I'm going to get great service. I'm going to get a clean look. I'm going to get great people. I'm going to they look happy to me, right? So they do. I mean, you can tell. Have you had never a server that comes up to the table, looks really unhappy? You're like, oh gosh, like this is going to be a bad experience. Yeah. Well, there's something behind that,
Yeah.
Yes, they could be having a bad day, but do they work for a company that values them? Yeah. I don't know about that. So I think that value and that we talked about recognition, appreciation, I think that all trickles down to having happy team members. And when you have happy team members, it translates to having happy guests, right? And you never want someone to come to your table that you're like, oh my God, they're miserable to be at work, right? That's definitely not our goal. And if you have the opposite, I think it translates to like, it's a vibe, it's an experience. I think it's just so positive.
Yeah.
I think it does. Oftentimes it blows me away when I think about organizations or restaurants, especially where from the marketing and the branding standpoint, you're always thinking about the people who are coming in.
Yeah.
And things can get way out of balance and very unhealthy when all you focus on is just that portion of it. When you really have to understand that if the inside of the machine, if the gears are stripped, if it's not oiled right and fine-tuned and taken care of and maintained correctly, like that's where the essence of the whole entire organization runs and becomes its strongest.
Right.
And then the rest is now reciprocal. It'll happen. Yeah. And come into effect. And so with culture and what you're doing, what are some of the ways that you really help make those values and what I would call like those words that are on the wall, or those words that show up on a video or on a poster board or whatever it might be for how it's set up and plastered in the back rooms or whatever. Like, how do you push that, like pull that off of the paper, off of the wall, and actually apply it into real everyday action?
Yeah, I think it's about training great leaders.
Okay.
And having great leadership and having that trickle down. And I would never be part of a company that has it on the wall, like you said, but doesn't live it every day. And so then I walk in there every day living it, right? Yeah. So we do have an acronym, it's called ROCKS. It's respect, opportunity, communication, kindness, and service, right? And at first when I got there, I was like, oh, it's like, it's a company.
Yeah, it's
touting their culture, right? It's their slogan, and they don't live it every day. And then when I slowly learned that it was an everyday thing at CPK, it got me more connected to it. Yeah. Is it everybody's experience? I don't think so. But my goal is for it to be everybody's experience. And I think through that is training. I think it's leadership. Mm-hmm. It's that trickle down, right? So I think we have a saying, so goes leader, so goes the rest. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really what it is. And you've got to hit the people at the top that trickle down all the way to the people that are on the front line serving our guests. And I think it's something you have to be authentic. I can smell people that aren't authentic, I think, from a mile away. And I don't really align myself with them. And I want to hire people that I feel what I can get from an interview for them and a tour around the restaurant and getting to know them over a few days will be attached to our brand. We'll want to bring something to our culture and not just do the job duties every day expected of them, but also bring something else, part of their personality or part of their engagement, whatever it may be. But I think you got to train the right leaders and they've got to lead correctly. I think that's a huge deal.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. 'Cause whenever you think about a restaurant, unless you haven't worked there, most of the time you're just like, yeah, it's a restaurant. They serve me food and they give me good, experiences, and the restaurant's clean and it looks nice. But there's so much more that goes on top of that. So
tons more.
Yeah. So how did you shift your perspective from serving tables to working in corporate? How did that kind of shift your perspective of what happened
of the industry?
The industry as a whole, because you probably already knew most of the stuff,
right?
But I bet you it did kind of shift a bunch of things around because you're like, okay, that's what goes on.
Yeah, I think, we have a lot of people in the corporate office that have never waited on tables, obviously, and nothing against them. I think everybody should wait on tables once in their life to experience the craziness of it. But I think being on that side of the industry and then going into this side of the industry, I've been on the serving side, the management and the restaurant side, and now the corporate side. You kind of see every single part of a company and where it lacks and where it's excelling. And so here's what it might need. But I think me being a server for managers for so long, I knew how I wanted to be treated.
Yeah.
I knew how I saw people being mistreated or treated in the best way and the different dynamics of that and people's favorites and things like that. And I was like, yeah, I don't ever want to be that manager that's doing that. So when I was put in that position, I valued it so much that I'm like, hey, here's my opportunity to be the best boss I can be the best leader I can be the best manager I can be. And then when I felt like I had mastered that and put my time in there, it was like, wait, I can do this on a national level. Yeah. How do I get myself to a company-wide spot? But I waited years to get that position and for it to come up on the job board. And when I got it, I was like, okay, this is my shot. Like, this is what I want to do. And this is what I've been doing. I want to impact the entire company. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job at doing that.
Yeah. I love hearing your heart. I guess for me, I feel it, and I not just feel it, but I also recognize the amount of preparation you were putting in behind the scenes. So you had that ambition and that dream of, and you were looking for that job post and that opportunity, but you knew that while I'm still waiting for that opportunity, I'm going to keep refining. I'm going to keep sharpening. And I think that's great, because sometimes in life it happens where sometimes we can allow ourselves to get worn down.
Yeah.
Or maybe to kind of have the wind taken out of our sails a little bit, but what kept you motivated to keep developing?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I got the job to go to corporate and they needed a manager still. So they kept me in the restaurant for like another 3 months. Why I already knew I had this job, right? So I had like a better salary, I had a better position. I was going to have my own office. I was like, oh my gosh, I've hit the big time. Wait a second, I'm still walking to the restaurant every day.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? And it was like, no, this is not the opportunity to stop. This is the opportunity to keep going and make it the best you can be until then. So everybody knew it too, my whole staff. It's like, why aren't you going to the corporate office? I'm like, not yet. They need me here. I'm still helping out. And it was, I got to say, it was definitely a struggle to hit those 3 months, knowing I had all this stuff in front of me. I was eager, right? I wanted to go up there. I knew I was going to run a nonprofit that really needed help, but could like go, blow up in amazing ways. And so for me, I was like, oh my gosh, but I knew every day I still had a job to do. And I did it, and I went there every single day. But on that last day, I was really excited. It was cool. It was cool to get out there. But like we talked about before, it's been going from that world that I felt I had mastered, really, for lack of a better word, and going into the corporate world and working with people who had advanced degrees and who were chief level and everything. I mentioned before, it came in that like imposter syndrome that I had a very hard time struggling with, and I'm much better now from it. But I think you question to yourself, like, am I meant to be here? For years I was reporting to chief officers of the company when I was, mid-level management. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, this is like the big time for me, for what I personally want to do. Am I supposed to be here? Am I supposed to be in this room? Am I supposed to be in these conversations? Yeah. And so I struggled with that for a long time. Until I just had to move past it and work on myself and understand, like, I do belong. Like, I'm meant to be here. I'm supposed to be in these rooms. Yes, I am smart too. I'm working with people that I consider to be highly intelligent, whether it's our top lawyer or our CEO, and I'm having meetings with them. I'm walking into a meeting with the CEO of CPK or the chief people officer, and my mind is still blown that I'm even allowed to be having those conversations. They don't make me feel like that. They make me feel the complete opposite. They make me feel great. This is all, internalized.
So what was those then? I always classify them as those kind of real, recognize real type things where, you know, you're in those moments. So you're having some of those doubts, but what were some of those reaffirming things? Maybe share a moment that was like, oh yeah, heck yeah, I'm supposed to be here. Like what helped reinforce that for you?
I think it's my leaders.
Okay.
You know, I think for me, it's my direct bosses over the years. I've had exceptional bosses at CPK that have put effort into my growth, that have focused on me, that have helped me to achieve a different level, who have taught me things without having a condescending tone or, you know, it's very, and it might sound cliche to people out there, like, oh, you have great bosses. It's like, no, they exist. They're out there. Right. And I think you're only as good as the leader that you have that puts that time into you. And I've had just absolutely, I mean, I just can't say enough about the leadership there. Just them understanding I've got a life outside of work. I don't always have to be 24/7. Yes, I can do this. They've given me more projects and challenges and promoted me. And I think not everyone is lucky enough to have great leaders. Yeah. And so I want to make myself a great leader too. But I think my imposter syndrome has been helped by great leadership, making me feel valued. Like, hey, no one's ever said to me, you belong in this room, because they don't know that I deal with that.
Right.
But they have made me feel constantly like you belong, you know, you're a big part of this team. You affect a lot of the company. So I think for me, it's directly who I report to. And I've reported to a few different people, and they've always been, for me, I've had just really good leadership.
Okay. Cool. So then with all that, is that why you've formed it, so that you make people feel like they belong and you tell them that they belong? And like, that's such a powerful thing, because you can use that if you ever notice somebody else dealing with something like that, you're like, hey, look, you belong here, and here's why.
Yeah. Yeah. No one's ever told me what I would never tell anybody about the imposter thing, but I know that people deal with it. Yeah. But yes, that's what I want to make people feel like. Yeah. You know, I want people to have experience I've had. And I feel like not everybody gets that experience. I think it's a very lucky experience to have in a large company, to be treated. It sounds so bad, but to be treated well and to have great leadership. Not everybody gets it. Yeah. And I think I value that so much that I want to pass that on. And we talked about trickling down, right? Yeah. It all comes from the top, right? I'm sure that they have a great leader, right? I don't report to their leader, but I report directly to them, and they're leading me in such a positive way. But I think it's taken some internal work to try and get to that level where I'm like, I can walk into this boardroom. You know, the nonprofit, they asked me after years to become the president of it. Yeah. And so I became the president of the nonprofit, and you better believe that first board meeting, I'm like, I cannot believe I'm walking in here as the president of this nonprofit when you, my boss, are a board member. Yeah. Right. So I'm leading this meeting. Right. And so for me, I was like, this is years of hard work. Yes, I belong here. Yes, I can do that. But then still the self-doubt creeps in, and you just have to somehow turn the switch off and just move through it. Yeah. The best way to get over something is to go through it. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's great.
No, awesome. I appreciate you having that vulnerability. Yeah. Because in order to get through all those tough moments and those security type things and that imposter syndrome, you've got to have those vulnerable times to really sit with and then kind of stand in the mirror and not focus on the negative, but actually be proud of what you see at that particular moment, knowing like this person, this reflection has gotten you this far, and there's still potential for more.
Right.
You know, when it comes to HR, I often sometimes think that people think of HR as, oh, here's the people who handle procedures and all the systems. Yeah. And they're just boring, you know, and kind of sometimes lack life. But how do you move it past that? Because I even think of with HR some of the different things, and I mean, do you help oversee even the way of communicating the things out? Because I've seen video trainings, like we're on the creative side of it, and I mean, even honestly, right? The state of California, their whole HR, their like sexual assault type things, and and what you call it?
Their data and their harassment.
The harassment and all these different things, and it's like, oh my gosh, if I have to see another clip of Ross again from Friends, but they're so bad, they're so just like any creativity. This could be pushed out in a whole better way. Like, how do you guys bring some fun, bring some creativity, bring some life into it being more than just procedures.
Yeah. They utilize us in HR. I mean, of course, we've got policies, procedures, things like that, right? But they utilize us for culture and recognition and training. So we call it Culinary U, right? Okay. So we make these videos, they're live stream. We have a studio up in our office and we make these, you guys will love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'd have to go.
You got to come up there. It's cool. Okay. It's cool. We've got this green screen and all this thing. It's not as fancy as this setup, but we use people in HR to train on the culinary. So we have them as guests, right? So I'm a guest on that show. People know who I am. I show up on camera and it's a relatability, right? It turns me into a person. I'm real. I'm doing these things. I'm telling you about, I'm making jokes about pizza dough and we're rolling out new products and I'm telling you about them and I'm making jokes, things like that, right? So I'm all of a sudden, I'm not the HR guy that you never see. Yeah. I'm more relatable. Yeah. And then I also do a lot of the recognition stuff. We have awards. We call them Palm Awards. We give them away every quarter for top performers in the company. Okay. But we have a live stream show for it. Dude, right? Fire. So it's really cool.
It's like a influencer like
totally
kind of thing. Yeah.
They're like, hey, this is a vibe we want. I'm like, I can do this. Like, I feel like awesome. I can do this,
awesome.
You know? Yeah. So we get on a live stream, we do it for hundreds of people, we give away these awards. And again, it's like, hey, this is HR recognizing us, appreciating us, not just shoving policies down our throats or this training or that. We make it fun and relatable. That's awesome. I don't think CPK has always been like that as far as the training part of it. I think that they really elevated what we do in terms of our people, like connecting with them, communicating it to them. Yeah. It's not a recipe on a recipe card that we're emailing to you anymore. It's like a whole visual thing. The videos they make. Yeah. We have great graphics people. The videos and stuff they make, I just think are exceptional. Yeah. And people, there's so many visual learners out there that I think that doing it that way and then putting it on a live stream, oh my gosh, people are like obsessed with it. They're like, and then they'll text us and there's a group chat in there and they'll just start writing like, oh, this is great, or I love this, or I think it just takes it to a different level. Yeah.
And the amount of effort that you put into presentation and what you put out speaks volumes, because people will then recognize, hey, they've put a good amount of effort into doing something like this. So now they will appreciate the value of what you're giving to them. Yeah. Because of how you're packaging it and how you're presenting it. So I think that's fire.
Yeah. And I think it's another thing of value to our people. Like you said, like, I think it's just like that. It's just, you're right. It does show that we put in that hard work and that effort and to make things a little bit easier for them because we know how crazy it can be. You know, we asked them this last round, I think we had like 8 or 9 or 10 new items. That's a lot, right? Yeah. So this is just for one rollout. It's going to last like 2.5 months, right? So we have all these new items. It's like, oh, you're going to make us do all these things. They're great products, but like you got to train us correctly, make it fun, right? Yeah. So it's very visual. It's very fun. It's very influency.
That's a good way to reach the newer like workforce that's also coming in. Yeah. I feel like if I were to go into a business and they were like doing a live stream to teach me how to make something, I would probably stay there, because I'm like, this is it's a creative way to do something that sometimes is very boring and sometimes it's just very complicated. Yeah.
And the camera's up above the dish, right? So that you just see hands making the dish. Yeah. So it's very cool. Like the way that that's communicated to them, I think they really enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, we got to go see that. That's
I want to go. I actually want to go see that. To be honest with you, my creative brain is going like, whoa, you could do a whole inside look at California Pizza Kitchen and create some cool stuff. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love this.
It's really cool the way they do it. I'm highly impressed by the way that they have elevated it. Yeah.
Your social media team though is crazy, like the graphics that they put out and like the short form videos. I'm like, geez, these are insane.
We have a we did for our 40th anniversary. We did a lot of stuff behind that, which was really cool, that I really liked, that was really engaging. I think, they've also taken it to a next level. So you got to evolve, you got to be with the times. You got to make it fun and creative. And I think that they have gotten that message loud and clear and just taken it to a new level, which is cool. I wish people saw the internal stuff, like the training that we don't show, that's not on social, that I think is just like exceptional.
That's cool. So how do you guys then, because on a corporate level, you've got your area, your team with the culture, training, all that different stuff. How do you then really stay connected and collaborate with the other groups?
Yeah, I think it's that communication piece and that, and it's so, we've got heads of every single department working together. The collaboration's like unreal, the amount of people that we have, but for them to include, there's no walls, we call it, right? So everybody is working together, right? So nobody is siloed. I think it used to be a bit more siloed. People wanted to keep their work to themselves, but I think now like culinary is working with HR, that works with marketing, that works with procurement. I mean, it's just nuts, the amount of collaboration. And I think when you have that kind of collaboration, you get that level that you want to be at. Yeah. So I think that's kind of like, hey, let's like tear down the walls, let's do all this, and let's be together. We had at our office in Playa Vista before COVID, there was a rule that the partitions have to be super low, right? So everybody's like seeing each other and collaborating. No one's off in their own world. And I love that. Like you could walk in and like see everybody at their desk, right? Well, there's a reason behind that, right? They wanted people to be eye to eye, to be a team, to not be so separate. And I think that was really cool. I'm like, when I noticed that, I'm like, I just have never seen that in an office before. I was like, why is it like that? I can see everybody. It's like, is it weird that I can see everybody? They're like, no, it's on purpose. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So there's little things.
I like the intentionality on the little things. Yes. It is about that. And I guess in some ways, how would you, because from a culture perspective, some people can get so caught up in this is what we're demanding,
right?
Or what we're asking, right? But I always look at it as a really healthy place. It's not demanding. You're laying out, hey, here are our desires, here are the expectations, or differently. Right. But even that's kind of a trigger word for this generation. But how do you, instead of it being like a list of those values and those things that you're doing, how do you move it from being demands or expectations or requirements and all of those trigger words and actually bring it to a place where it's more of you're inspiring?
Yeah, I think for us, it's that authenticity and being consistent with it.
Okay.
So I think for us, consistency is big. It's like, it's got to be the same message all the time. You're not cramming it down people's throats, but you're also not demanding that people be engaged in it, right? Yeah. You are asking them to show up on time, right? There's non-negotiables for performance, but we never ask that you have to be super engaged with our culture.
Yeah.
We hope that you engage with our culture by something that might be meaningful to you, that might stick out to you. And so we try to do different things all the time, talk about the kindness fund with people. Well, maybe the kindness fund is not for everybody. Yeah. So is it exceptional training, right? Is it great leadership? Is it a career path? I think for us, it's like, there's so many people, you guys would be just absolutely blown away. The 10 years at CPK.
Okay.
I just walked into our restaurant in Burbank. I've been with the company 14 years. And I walk around and start talking to people and they're chatting, whatever. Again, HR relatable, right? Want to be a face on the ground and be a real person.
Yeah.
Oh, 20, 25 years, 30 years. The guy in pasta's 35 years. So they make me look like I'm a newbie, when I've been there 14 years. Wow. And to me, that's like, that is a career path. That's growth. That's a workplace that people want to be engaged with. It's those kind of things. So again, culture is not for everybody.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for those people because I just am a huge culture person, but I understand that it's not for everybody. So I think if you understand the message that it's not going to land with everybody, but you're still authentic and you do it consistently, I think you're going to get people to buy it at some point, that want to be engaged. And then guess what? People that aren't involved in the culture, don't want to be close to it, they move on. Yeah. Right. And if someone really, it pulls at their heartstrings and they're connected to the company, they stay. And I think the 10 years speak to that. The home office we've got, again, I feel like a newbie, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And I'm celebrating those anniversaries. And now we're coming up on 40-year anniversaries in a year. Wow. I'm like, 40 years. What? The company's only 40 years old. Yeah. We have people that had started still, I think our longest tenured server is like 35 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we have people at the corporate office that will be coming up on 39 and 38 years. Yeah. Just nuts.
Yeah, having people be
but pretty cool
the entire time. That's insane.
Yeah, and seeing that evolution and the ups and downs.
That's what I was going to say. Thinking about all of the different, the way this thing has grown, the different looks,
right?
The phases. I even think of, man, what kind of opportunities? Yeah. Thinking about the opportunities that the crossroads that they came to were a decision or whatever to either change, innovate, whatever it might be,
right,
to then push them to that next phase of growth.
Yeah.
I mean, have you been able to, you know, with some of those and with being a people person and culture, I mean, has there been any really crazy, like almost out of these world, or just some like a story that hit you so much that you're like, wow, this rocks me or inspires me from, you know?
I mean, there's been a few over the years with CBK and the things that we've done. I think, you know, COVID obviously was a huge deal for us. I mean, it was just absolutely nuts to, you guys went through it, to see the world change. Everybody was affected by it in some way or another. I think for us to close restaurants and then reopen them. So I was part of a team kind of during COVID when we were able to open in California restaurants, but we had to do it the correct way.
Yeah.
So I was a team. I was in a car, an Ford Explorer with a vice president, a couple of vice presidents actually, driving around the state of California. And they were like, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. They put us in a car up in hotels. We drove up and down the state. This is a true story. And we went to as many CPKs as possible to get them COVID ready, right? To hit all the protocols the state asked us to, like tape on the ground. And we had our marketing team graphics team do this tape, but like, you must be here. This is takeout, all these signs. And we had this whole blueprint that every restaurant we go into, we could flip in like 4 hours, right? So we could flip it for COVID in 4 hours. And we did. We went from Sacramento all the way down the state. And we would just hit as many restaurants as we could in a day, hit the hotel at night, do it all again the next day. And we did as many restaurants as we could.
Did you guys even document any of that? Did you?
I have pictures of it because I was so blown away that we were doing this. I'm like, I can't even believe. I mean, we didn't have any employees. And it was we'd meet the manager at the door. Yeah. They'd be the only person in the restaurant. And they're like, hey, we're opening. We're allowed to open next week. I'm like, let's flip this restaurant. And so we would do it. And that was like one of the crazier experiences. But I think, for me, my most impactful experience at CBK has been with the nonprofit. And the people that we have helped through that has just seen their experiences and understanding their life moments. I think for me has been hugely impactful. I'll never forget it. And I think for me, it's like, that's what brings me the joy of it, right? That's what I get passion from, is helping people. And, you know, it's not my money. It's all of our employees' money. They all donate. And we're able to help people. And there's been a few national events that have really hit home that we've had employees involved in. And I don't think it's hugely public, but it's also not private either. And we've been able to help those people. And to me, it's like, that always makes it worth it. Yeah. You know, that's a big deal for me. I have to be passionate about something. I have to be connected about it. It might sound privileged to say, but I'm never after a paycheck. You know, for me, I'm not chasing money. That's not what drives me. It's what drives a lot of people. I think especially in Orange County, it drives a lot of people. It's not what I'm after. I'm after engaging people, a people-centric company, and helping people who have gone through tough times. I think that's where I get my fulfillment from.
I love that. Is that where you found your purpose in helping?
People? I found my purpose in people. You know, I think with being led, being a leader, doing these things, I've been through a lot of things, and I think I take that experience and I turn it into positives, you know, and I think, the mind is a powerful thing, right? And so if the power of positivity and finding your purpose, I think it's not always easy to maintain, but I think it's something that you do and you draw on your experiences, you can really just have a great life, you know? And I love life. And I'm just, I'm lucky to be here. And
it's awesome.
That's so good. I do think that if you set yourself up and prioritize spending time with people, no matter what your job is, no matter what your role is, there's always something that you can learn.
Yeah.
And not even just learn, but there's always ways that you can be inspired and even maybe have a spark or something that's lit up with you in you personally that help you become a better person, to keep growing as a person. And I appreciate hearing your heart behind the stuff, man, and just kind of what you prioritize, how you do things, kind of getting into your mind just a little bit. And but hearing even just some of the stories, I because that's what drives me. I love stories, and I often think that we don't tell them enough.
Yeah.
You know, and so the more that we can showcase it, the more that, and it's not even to showcase it, but it's like to just bring awareness, to bring, hey, that there's other people just like you and I, who are fighting this good fight of life,
right,
and they're trying to make the best of it.
Yeah,
you know?
and we've all been through stuff, you know, and it's like you take those moments, and I think it's like what you do with them.
Yeah,
you know, so it's just life is a crazy thing, you know. A couple of years ago, I had to learn how to walk again. I was paralyzed. And,
what?
Yeah. So I know. It's like, no, and I think that's what made me, I only talk about it because it kind of goes back to purpose in life.
Yeah.
And so, I had raw chicken at a restaurant, not CPK, at a mom and pop restaurant. I ate a piece of raw chicken that was ground, and I slowly lost my ability to walk. And so I had I don't know if you've heard of Guillain-Barré.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like a nerve disorder from a bacteria. It can be
It's from raw food, right?
Yeah, it could be raw food. It could be a flu shot. It could be whatever. And I lost my ability to walk, and I was paralyzed from the waist down. And that experience and coming back from that, we talk about mindset, right? We talk about like positivity, and you hit a depth that I don't think you might. I mean, some people hit it. People have medical stuff all the time. I never had any of that, right?
Yeah.
I never had to worry about anything. I was always the one on the other side helping people, like, oh my gosh, you had a stroke, let me help you, and do all these things. And all of a sudden I'm the one in the hospital bed, and you got to dig deep, and you got to find out why that happened. You got to deal with that. It's a mental thing, as well as a physical thing. And then you just put, I couldn't put my best foot forward because I couldn't put a foot forward.
Right.
But in my mind, I was like, I can do this. Like I can do this. But when they're telling you they're not sure you're ever going to walk again, or I play competitive tennis. If you're ever going to play competitive tennis again, and all of a sudden that part of your life is stripped away from you, and you understand how precious that is. I mean, the ability to walk is an insane thing. When you cannot walk, you will appreciate walking every single step that you can. It's just this crazy thing. And when your mind is like, put your foot forward, just walk, start walking, but your body doesn't do it. It just is.
Is it infuriating?
Yeah. It's just like, I remember having a total breakdown in the hospital. My mom was with me. She helped me through it. And I was like, I could not imagine ever walking again. But at one point, I just came to peace with it. Like, you know what? If I don't walk, I'll still have a great life. I'll figure it out. I can do these things. I can do whatever. Yeah. And luckily, by the grace of God and, faith and medicine and all these things, I was able to walk again after some intense therapy. But they give you an infusion. Yeah. And then I told the neurologist, like, hey, what are the chances? They say, oh, it's like 50-50. It works for some people. It doesn't work for other people. Yeah. We'll figure it out if it doesn't work. Like very cavalier, very casual. I'm like, some people. And after a couple of days, I could wiggle toes, but I had to relearn, it took 4 to 5 months of rehab to relearn how to walk. But it really changed my mindset for a lot of things, especially work. Work was always number one for me. I was a 24/7 machine. I would answer calls whenever they would come in at any time of the day. And I changed that a lot, right? Yeah. Doesn't mean I'm working less hard. I just am working smarter. Yeah. And I think for me, it gave me the ability. I always have empathy. I think I was born with having great empathy for people. It took it to a different level where I could understand being on the other side of something so crazy. So hard. Yeah. So I've really taken that experience, and that helped me get rid of imposter syndrome, to be completely honest. I have a little bit of it, but it helped me get rid of it because I was like, wait a second, like life is so short and so fleeting and could be gone tomorrow. You could not walk tomorrow. You could be gone tomorrow. Like, yes, you belong. Yeah. You're supposed to be, you are where you're supposed to be. Yeah. And for me, it took an event like that to kind of switch gears a little bit.
Yeah. And it's crazy too how some of those events in those moments can be so heavy, but yet if you can find a glimmer of just a small piece of gratitude and start remembering what you do have and what and why you are here, and what opportunities you still have available to you. I mean, it really does flip the weight.
It does. Yeah. And I never thought I would be able to make peace with not being able to walk again. Yeah. But when I got to that point where I was like, I'll be okay if I never walk again, I was like, okay, I'll get through this. Yeah. You know, so I think it's just, again, it's a mindset. It's a way to be. You know, I just think it's a cool life lesson, you know, that it's it's the way that you approach life. It's the way you think about things. It's the way you start your day. It's the way you treat people. It's the way you want to be treated. You know, it's like you walk through life how you want to walk through life. Yeah. And I always want to walk through life a happy person and a positive person who gives to other people, and has a purpose. Right. And I, like we talked about, my purpose is people, you know, making their day better, helping them out, recognizing them, appreciating them, giving to the culture of a company. That's what feeds me. Yeah. I couldn't sit at a desk all day and push paper and do these things that don't deal with people and impact, you know, I want to make an impact on people.
Yeah. I love that.
It's awesome.
Dude, it's so good. And
it's so good.
I love how you guys, and I mean, and part of your doorway in and helping you step into the position you're in now and the opportunities that you've had was through a nonprofit. Yeah. You know, and I think having those types of causes and those different things to get behind are so good as well. Yeah. Man, dude.
This was great.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. You know, it's so cool how, like, I didn't even know about, like, the paralyzed thing. That's crazy, but that just really shows how important it is to enjoy what you have.
Yep.
And then kind of realize how lucky you are to be living life.
Yeah, and also know, like, there's gonna be hard times, right? You're young, right? You're gonna experience some bumps in the road, but it's again, it's how you experience that. You know, it's how you pull through it. It's what you take from it, and then it's how it leaves you, right? Yeah, it's your choice how it leaves you. I could be down about it. I could be upset about it. I could be angry about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I'm like, hey, how do I take this and turn it into something that can be useful to other people? You know, so for me, I think it's like an elevated empathy, and understanding. Yeah, but it's like, and I gotta say, I got a little like plug to nurses out there. They're like angels on earth, by the way, like doing everything for you, and I mean everything. Yeah, I mean those people talk about purpose and talk about. I'm sure they're all very fulfilled with their job. I mean, it's just, I was so shocked at the care and the nurturing and the empathy from people helping me that were, 20 years old in their first job as a nurse out of nursing school and doing all these things for me and not even thinking twice about it. That is the kind of human connection and purpose. And I was like, God, can I ever get to that? Like, I would love to be at that level, So I think we're all we're all on a journey. I think it's just, and I could have pressed pause, right? I could have stopped everything. I could have turned everything off, but it's like, life keeps moving, right? And nothing's going to stop it. And so you've got to keep moving with it. And it's just the way that you go about it, I think, that is really impactful.
Awesome. Dude, that's really cool.
Yeah. And here you thought we were just going to talk about pizza.
And no, I was like, I'm ready to talk about pizza. But
right.
No, this was a good episode. There's a lot of stuff to take out of this.
Yeah, and for all you guys who are watching and or listening, once again, we want to thank you for being part of our Purpose Department family. And Bryan, I'm so glad that you're here. We'll have to have another conversation again sometime, man. I love your heart and your reasoning, and just really what drives you, man. It is about people, and what we all have something we can bring, and it's really valuable. It's worth more than gold, that's for sure. It is though. Yeah.
Cool. All right, everybody, thank you for watching the Purpose Department podcast. Thank you for joining us today. So have a great day and God bless.